most important thing that we've been doing out in DC is that we've been focusing on the inside before doing anything outside. And you guys are sort of doing the opposite. That's what somebody was telling me. You guys, we're the polar opposite. We've been going outside and doing all these different things, but we haven't been really focusing too much on us. So somebody came up to me earlier today and said, Chris, would you please talk to us about how we can be better on the inside? And that's the key, I think. Like, I think the most important thing is we work from the inside out. In STSA, what we did was we started a bunch of different series, focusing on sexual immorality, working within ourselves, prayer. We just were growing together, linking arms together. And that's like the fundamental premise of us growing together as a church, is anytime, like, I think the key to a successful church is that we're willing to be open about our struggles. Like, I know I have a lot of struggles. But if I came in here today and I said, hey, I'm addicted to sex, I am sleeping around with women, and I'm married, how would you guys take that? And the key to that is you have a struggle too. You have a struggle too. You have a struggle. Every single one of us has struggles. But the point is how can we all realize together and be transparent, not about open and bragging about who we are, but not be putting on masks about the type of people that we are. And that's what we find in a lot of, what's the biggest thing that people always complain when you talk to them about church? Oh, the church is hypocritical. I want nothing to do with the church. Like, when I went, they judged me. They did all these different things. The key to us being this great church, like, we're a young church. You know, like, Stan, you're coming into a pretty young church. We're still in our infancy. This is us. This is who we are, you know? And the key to a successful church is really being a judgment-free zone. And the way to be a judgment-free zone is that we're open about who we are. We're not bragging about sin, but we're open about the struggles that we have in our lives. One of the key things that we've been doing in STSA is we have small groups. So we have a group, I don't know if you guys are doing that, we have a group of like 5 guys, 5 girls, just meeting together on a weekly basis. And the first thing that we've been doing is sharing testimonies. Just sharing with each other, like, what our walk in life has been like, what our struggles are, what are things that we can pray for each other for. And then one of the most important things that Abuna Anthony was really pushing was accountability partners. So what do I mean by accountability partners? Is, say for example, like the whole premise of 2 are better than 1, because if one falls, the other is there to pick him up, right? So hypothetically, I'm struggling with this really big struggle, and I can't overcome it. So what happens if I fall? I just sort of goes on. Nobody's there to push me to be better. Nobody's there to encourage me. Nobody's there to do anything. If I have somebody that knows the intimate details, and really it's not my father of confession or any of these different, it's somebody that knows who I am and meets with me on a regular basis, that person can hold me accountable and say, hey, Chris, you're not where you need to be. And preferably it should be of the same gender, because obviously guys and girls have different struggles, and guys can sort of relate to each other. But the problem is, when guys struggle, we sort of make like this guys can say, all right, in order to stop cursing, what I'm going to do is we're going to put a jar in the middle of the room, and we're going to put 50 cents in it every single time, like we mess up. But girls, on the other hand, they like to cry together. They like to hold it, like to do all these different things. That's to be more on the emotional side, you know. Maybe I cry a little bit too, but oftentimes we find it's guys, we're solution-based. We're solution-based. We want solutions for everything. And women are more emotional. Like, they just want somebody to hear them out, push them. And I'm not being biased. I'm just sort of saying how, no, and this, it's not a negative. It's not a negative. But preferably of the same gender. And Abuna Anthony puts this a lot better than I do, obviously. So we said judgment-free zone. We said holding each other accountable. One of our major core values is limitless acceptance. We said, as a church, we said from the beginning, we want to limitlessly accept every single person that walks into the door. And thank God we have great leadership in our church, that we toiled together, we prayed together. Every single person was really praying about these core values, and they came up with an amazing list. Limitless acceptance. We believe that every person who enters into our church is the most important person in the world. That person is sent by God and should be loved and accepted as such. If we stop at number one, that's more than enough. We don't have to, we could go through the rest of the list. There's 10, but if we stop at number one, limitless acceptance, this church won't have enough room for it to hold people. Because, like I said, the number one thing that people always complain about is church is filled with a bunch of hypocrites that judge me. If we can be transparent about who we are, if we can be open, if we can hold each other accountable, and if we can love every single person that walks into that door, I promise you this church will be a different place. Imagine it. Imagine it. We said authentic community. We said transformational communion worship, passionate pursuit of God, Christ-like integrity, faith-filled vision, irrational generosity, faithful stewardship of talents and gifts, personal call to evangelism, and genuine love for our community. That's our core values. I wanted to go through them, but just for sake's time, we're going to rush through them. I want to just cover authentic community. Church is more than just a meeting place of social events. It's an accountability. It's a bunch of links, like I said. Links of people like holding each other together. So if I fall, if I'm linked on both sides, I'm still standing. I may be a little lower, but I'm still standing. The link system is the most important thing for us as a church. If we can grab on each other's arms and grow together step by step, that nobody's growing without the other, and we're growing together, watch how amazing the church is going to look like. And the most important thing is people aren't looking like for a friendly church. They're coming to look for friends. They're not looking for people that say, hi, welcome, thank you for coming, you're welcome. They're looking for people that are going to love them. They're looking for people that are going to be real friends. Like real friends that care for their salvation. Care for them to have, like what we said today, a life worth living. Get what I'm saying? The second most important thing is we have this thing where we say, as a church members, we don't want to be consumers. We want to be contributors. We don't want to be the type of people that just sit on the sidelines. Thank you for doing servants. You guys are doing all these great things. Or we're just going to sit here. We want every single person to have a role in the church. Every single person needs to be actively leading. So if the church isn't growing, I take 100% responsibility. You take it. Because we're all doing it together. There's no element of one person is leading more than the other, another person is leading more. Obviously, there's a leadership role for different people, but everybody has, like we said earlier, a link in the important part of this great chain. We don't have something called servants at STSA, because everybody's a servant. Nobody's a servant. I'm not higher than you. You're not higher than me. Everybody's of the same level. And to me, that was the most shocking thing when I started that church. Because I went from a church where there was the people of prominence who were serving and doing all these different things, and then there was just like everybody else, the congregation. But in STSA, the congregation is the servants. And that's what you guys are. That's what the beauty of this church is everybody is serving. Everybody is actively wanting this church to grow and to be what it should be, which is the beautiful bride of Christ. We said limitless acceptance. We said it doesn't mean that weird guy with purple hair and tattoos that has like spikes. That's not the limitless acceptance. It's to accept people who maybe are going to talk too much. People who are going to have a weird laugh. People who are going to be annoying. People who are going to sneeze in really funny ways. People who are going to have completely different interests. That's what limitless acceptance is that like it's not about how you look. It's that we could be walking in two completely different walks of life, but that we share one common link, which is Christ, like Danny was saying. All right, so here's the key. This is an important thing. In our church, we said, and by God's grace, when new members start really coming to our church, it's not about the first time people that come to church, because you're going to get a lot of first-time visitors. It's about the second. The second time somebody comes to church, that means that they're really interested. The key is on that second time to really show them the true love of Jesus. Because everybody will come, scope something out, and say, "What are these guys? These guys wearing funny shirts? What are they about? What's going on with them?" But the second time is really, really, really the key to really engaging them and building them and pushing them into the church. So here's what we have. We have a 5-minute rule. After service, the liturgy, or after the service, we have a 5-minute rule where we don't talk to anyone that we know. We're not allowed to talk to anyone that we know. So if I am friends with Verena, she's like my homie, we talk all the time, I can't talk to Verena for the first 5 minutes. I have to actively pursue a new person and not make it, here's the key, awkward. Awkward. A lot of times as people, a lot of us are very introverted. A lot of us don't know how to sort of carry out a conversation that makes it comfortable, where you're just like, "Hey, how you doing? How's everything?" "Good." So how's the weather? So how is, what about those Yankees, or those Red Sox, or those, we often get awkward when we meet new people. And this is just a principle that I want you guys to sort of, I didn't make this up. We got this from like somebody who's amazing. This principle of speak. When you meet somebody new, use this principle, and I promise you, it'll really work. I use this every single time I meet somebody new. Memorize this, use it, apply it. I promise you, you'll be able to carry out conversation with new people. You'll be able to carry out conversation with your workplaces. You'll be able to carry a conversation with classmates. Is speak. So when you meet somebody new, you say, "Hey, what's your story? Where are you from? Are you new to the area? Where did you come from? Where did you grow up? Blah, blah, blah. What brings you here today?" Get people's story, engage them. Most of the time, people love to talk about themselves. Like, if you talk to a person, they start talking, they can talk from here till tomorrow about themselves. So most of the time, you won't get past S. But if you happen to get past S, you start with P. So S is story. P is, that's great that you're new to the area. Tell me some things that you like to do. What are you passionate about? What are things that really move you? What are things that that get you excited? So that in itself will give you a lot of time for people to talk about what they're interested in. Third is E. Is once they tell you about what they're passionate about, is encourage them. Say some nice supporting words about what they're doing. Tell them what you're doing is awesome. Like, we need that in our church. We'd love to utilize you. We'd love to do all these different things. A is, how can I help you? How can I help you use what you have to make this church better? So is there something that I could assist you with? Is there a book? Is there a resource? Is there a person? And no is, who do I know, or what do you know that I need? Like, who do I know that you need, or what do I know that you need? All right, so fast, quick, easy principles. Speak, easy to use. I promise you, you'll really find good outcomes with that when speaking to people. Okay. Huh? No, most of the time, the 5 minute is a principle. Like, say you have little short, awkward conversations. After 5 minutes, you can go back to talking to people that you know. But typically what we like to do is, sometimes you'll start a conversation with somebody, and the whole entire 30-minute break that we have between the liturgy and we call the well is just chatting with one person sometimes for the whole 20-30 minutes. So you're really engaging people. And if I know somebody, I'm like, "Hey, you're into journalism? Jamie, she's into journalism too. Maybe you guys should link up and talk." And we're building relationships with people that way. Okay, so I'm not going to run through this, but most important thing is that we need to be a Spirit-led church. And what do I mean? Somebody told me, like, what does this whole Spirit-led church thing mean? Like, what does that mean? Is we need to be a church that knows, as a people, we're weak. We're weak. I got my weaknesses. I got my struggles. I know that I cannot do anything on my own. But as a church, if we're unified, man, we are the strongest people on the planet, because a church that's unified is unified in the body of Christ, is unified in the Spirit, is unified in the same vision, is unified in the same passion, is unified in all these different things. You see that the church will be growing in the most fired up, in the most active way. And this is what we read every single morning, right? In the first hour, we pray. Like, "I beseech you, therefore, to walk worthy of the calling which you were called, with lowliness, with gentleness, with long-suffering, bearing with one another in love, endeavoring to keep the unity of the Spirit in the bond of peace. I'm not going to continue on, but if we could just stop at the first sentence or the second sentence, that's enough for us to work on for the next year. We need to be a unified, Spirit-led, like a church that really hungers to listen to the voice of God. It can't be all about me. A lot of times it's about, oh, hey, Ed is, leading this thing. Why am I not leading this? She's singing in the choir. Why can't I sing in the choir? Or this is, like, if we just realize that we are all parts of the big piece of the puzzle, and the puzzle can't be whole without each and every one of us, man. Like, I promise you, next time I come here, this church will be packed. And it's not about numbers. Again, it's not about numbers. I know we get caught up in numbers. Like, how come we've been here for like 8, 9 months or 10 months and we still don't have that many people? What's going on? Blah, blah, blah. The numbers will come. Because if you love your church, you're going to want to bring others to the church that you love. But if you don't love your church, you're going to be embarrassed to bring people because you're going to feel like, oh man, this is not the church that I want to bring people. So if we work together and we make this church the best place, if we make this, like we said, the morning, the in place to be, then truly people will start flocking to this door. And it might not happen tomorrow, it might not happen the day after, it might not happen next year. But on our own, we could do nothing. But with God, we can do all things through Christ who strengthens us, right? I promise you. And I'm not going to say anything more, but I just wanted to key you guys in on that just important thing. Like, we need to be praying people, we need to be unified people, and we need to be surrendered people. We need to be people that, again, praying people that are every single night are praying for our church. Like praying on our knees saying, God, please make St. Paul's the best church ever. How many of us even pray that prayer? I hope all of you. Unified people that if I got a division with Verena, if even Verena's annoying the heck out of me, if I have a problem with her, Verena, I'm going to do everything in my power to make that relationship whole again. If we're unified people, and if we said, what was the last one? I can't even remember what I said. Surrender people. If we're surrendered people, surrender to whatever God wants us, vision of what the church is. And we really find ourselves given to God in everything. All right, I'm not going to say anything more. I know it's a late night, so glory be to God forever and ever. Amen. Thank you, guys. No